I'm Andy Pilgrim with Automobile Magazine. Welcome to another edition of A Pro Racer's Take. Tonight, under the sunset at NCM Motorsports Park, we have Ford Mustang Shelby GT350 and the Ford Mustang Shelby GT350R. I have been wanting to get these cars on track for a long time. I'm really looking forward to this one. The GT350 and the R come with the same engine horsepower, 526 horsepower, 429 pounds-feet of torque. What's interesting about these engines is both of them come from the Romeo niche line. That's the Romeo engine plant, and it's a niche line that does some of the motorsport stuff. They've done a heck of a job with these engines. I want to talk a little bit about suspension differences. They're not a whole lot, but they are there. The GT350R is a little bit stiffer than the GT350, about 8% stiffer in the rear and 10% stiffer in the front. There's about a 100-pound weight difference between the cars, and also the R comes with a stickier version of the Cup 2 tire, and that's about the only difference suspension-wise, is the 8 and 10%. We want to talk a little bit about the brake systems. They're the same on both cars. 15.5-inch rotor on the front with a 6-piston Brembo caliper and a 15-inch 4-piston caliper Brembo again on the rear. Also, on the tire aspects, you've got slightly different tires. The GT350 has a 295/35 on the front, and the R has a 305/30 on its front. The rears are 305 on the GT and 315s on the R. An interesting quick point about the GT350R is it's a little bit lower than the GT350. Most of that comes from the fact that it has the 30 aspect ratio tires on it. Another thing about the GT350R is it's about 100 pounds lighter overall than the GT350. The carbon fiber wheels are about 60 pounds of that. These wheels are actually a little bit wider than the GT350. These are 11-inch on the front width and 11.5 on the back, and the GT350 is ½ an inch narrower on each end. I want to spend a little bit of time on aerodynamics because both these cars produce aero. The GT350R, as you can see, has quite a large splitter compared to the GT350, and it also has a 20mm lower ride height. It takes advantage of the ride height with the splitter and has a little more downforce in the front. So going to the rear here, the GT350 has what we call a swing. What is that? It is a spoiler that acts as a wing. And we have a gurney flap here with the 4 bolts that hold it on. It is removable. With this gurney flap on this swing, that's Ford's terminology, this actually does produce more downforce than the GT350R, believe it or not. But remember, has a higher ride height, has a little more lift at the front, and this creates more drag. So on the back of the R, we have a carbon fiber wing. It's very efficient here. You do have overall downforce on both cars. This car has about 180 pounds of downforce with the gurney flap. This car has about 140 pounds of downforce at 120 miles an hour for both cars. So I'm sitting in the GT350. The seats in these cars are basically the same. They come with the Recaros. The difference is in the GT350R, you have some red stitching and some red trim. If you want the leather seat, you can get one in the GT350. It's sort of an upgrade. It has air conditioning and heated seats. I really like the steering wheel, and they are identical on both cars. So top left corner, we've got sort of the navigation for your infotainment system there. You've got in the bottom left, you've got the phone stuff if you want to do that. Top right over here, you've got the volume controls for the stereo and stuff like that. Now the bottom right is really the fun stuff. The mode switches where you can go to track and for normal mode, track modes, etc. And then you've got the shocks over here as well on this bottom right section. And then also you've got steering wheel. You can go from normal mode to a heavier if you like heavier. I actually like the normal mode myself, but some people like a heavier steering wheel when they're on track. The wheel has everything you want. It's not too cluttered. They've put them in nice locations, so it works very well. And the wheel's superb. It's a perfectly sized wheel for this vehicle. You've got the regular switches here for the nav, and you've got the air conditioning, but what I really like is this row of switches down here. You've got the engine start button, you've got hazard warning lights, which, you know, hopefully we don't need those on track for sure. You've got the TC off, you flip it up once and then you hold it if you want everything off. We didn't do that on track. And then you've got launch control, and then you've got the sport exhaust. that is a loud exhaust. It really sounds cool, actually. And then you've got the gear shifter, Tremec gearbox, and this thing is industrial strength. What I mean by that is the gates are highly defined and it is solid. You can do very quick shifts on track, and it gave me absolutely nothing but confidence. Another little touch, which is almost a throwback these days, is the handbrake. I like a handbrake. I don't like the electronic handbrakes very much. They just really annoy me a lot. That's nice. I like it and it works. And the other thing we have is a sunglass drawer, which we found. So for me, I probably wouldn't use the sunglasses because I wear glasses a lot. But I would probably fill it with change, just to upset the passengers, because it would rattle the whole time and say, what's wrong with this car? So I don't know, it just rattles a lot, but actually be the change in the drawer. You know, that's the way I'd do it. Okay. So as I like to do sometimes, we talk about practicality, and the GT350 has a back seat. Apparently also, people buy this car as a family vehicle, and child safety seats are usable in the back of the car. So as I like to do, I will sit in the back of the car and see how it feels. One other point, the GT350R does not have a back seat, which saves about 20 pounds, and that car is a little bit more track focused, obviously. All right, let's get in the back seat. So we have a handle here in the middle, flip in, drop in, and pull it back. My seat's in the driving position and it feels just fine back here. I could definitely, my head's almost on the roof a little bit, but not exactly. And actually, if I slouch forward, my head's fine and I'm good. I mean, you know, you probably don't want to cross country in it, but it's still pretty good as far as I'm concerned. Practical, everyday, family vehicle, sounds great. What's the problem? So again, along the lines of practicality or just usefulness, if it's your daily driver, we want to talk about the trunk. Both cars have exactly the same size trunk, very useful, good trunk. The GT350R has a subwoofer which takes up one small corner towards the back, but essentially exactly the same size. The other thing about the trunk, the rear seats flip forward. So that gives you a lot of room in this car, which adds to practicality, obviously. So if I go look, flip it down, pull that, pull it down, hello. So it's good. I mean, there's a lot of room here, man. It's a lot of room. All right, time for the fun stuff. Gonna take the GT350R on track, GT350 waiting in the wings. Seat belt, we need a seat belt. Always need a seat belt. All right, ready? GT350 at this point, NCM, here we go, getting started. This car, remember, is on the regular Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2s and running through 1-2. Then the suspension, a little bit less stiff in this car, a little more compliance because the tire doesn't have quite as much mechanical grip. Love the sound of this engine, it's awesome. You can get away with the curbs in both cars, actually get away with the curbs, but certainly more in this one. And you can get away with using a little bit more of the curb. The engine speed, the speeds are very similar, 136, 137 on the straightaway, around 130 coming into turn 5. Right through the middle of turn 5 is when we're going to see a difference. This car's minimum speed was about 96 miles an hour. I'm sure the GT350R will be a little bit quicker through there. Great gearbox. Love this gearbox. There's a run down to turn 10 here, through turn 9. Both cars are flat out through here. And 107 is a phenomenal speed down towards turn 10. That is a great speed. Probably partly due to me not using the brake pedal very early. Solid through deception. And now the run run over tabletop down to turn 15, and these cars are fast, but I think we can get through the apex of 15 with no lift. 136, right on the rev limiter in 4th gear, right on the rev limiter. Cut the corner there a little bit, and it actually worked very well. Good run out of turn 17 there. And now we're into the patience section of the racetrack. Just keeping it tight, keeping it tight. Really need your mechanical grip right here. Through 22. Coming onto the straightaway. Solid run here, solid run. Anything around a 2:15, anything is going to be really good. 2:15.1. That is a fantastic time for this car. Really good. Compares very, very favorably with the Camaro SS1LE that we had out here. Both great cars. All right, in the GT350R now, coming down towards turn 1. Big speed, 80 mile an hour apex into 1 is really fast. I can already feel the extra grip, mechanical grip that I have in these Michelin Pilot Cup 2s. These tires are kind of like the Cup 2R. They are not a Cup 2R, but they have that different kind of compound, which is just gives it more mechanical grip. Turn 5 is where we're going to start to feel that. The aero on the cars are very similar, but through here, mechanical grip will help again. And min speed 98, just a fraction of 98 there. That's a solid speed. Anything close to 100 miles an hour is very quick through turn 5. Still manages the curbs well, this car. Still manages the curbs well, but you can feel it a little more stiff, so you have to be a little more careful. We'll see what happens at Deception. Good run down here into 10. And again, the mechanical grip there, you can feel the extra grip in these particular Michelins. Seriously hard turn into Deception, and the car just said, yeah, give me more. Same thing over tabletop. I'm not shifting. I'm going to leave it in 4th gear and hit the rev limiter at 136. And there you go, 136. That was me trying to snatch 3rd and pulling it back into 4th gear. May have cost me a couple of tenths, actually. Solid grip through here. Solid grip. Really, really good stick. Couple of miles an hour at least up on the GT350 through there. The engine in this car sounds incredible, revving to well over 8,000 RPM. Actually, the engines in both these cars rev to that. 213.61, anything 213s is really good. And that's what the Ford engineers actually said to me. They said if their pro drivers get around 1.5 second difference between the two cars, and that's right where we are. So I just completed a lap in the GT350R. I had a blast with both these cars. They are great value for money when it comes to taking your car on track and having a lot of fun. And it's 100 degrees today here at NCM Motorsports Park, but both the cars held up, brakes, everything, superb. I'll tell you what, Ford and Ford Performance put their hands on this stuff and they produced two awesome vehicles. I had a blast.